So now it's time for our first panel discussion, and in addition to the speakers already on the stage, I have the honor to invite also the Minister of Environment from Sweden, Karolina Skog. Please take the floor. And then, as you already heard, the previous chair from the EU side for the work was Denmark, and therefore it is indeed a special honor to have a colleague, the Permanent Secretary, Henrik Studsgaard, from the Ministry of Environment and Food from Denmark. Please. And also to show the continuity from the EU side, we have already agreed the next chairmanship, and that will be Portugal, and that is why I have the privilege to ask Mr. Carlos Martins, the Secretary of State for Environment in Portugal. And then, for the first time in our session, it is also a privilege to ask a representative, a senior director from the World Bank, Mr. Guangzhe, Chen. Please take the floor as well. So, Excellencies, it's really a privilege to be here today, ladies and gentlemen. As we already heard, and we all recognize that water, it is indeed the most critical natural asset, not only here in Europe or China, but definitely worldwide. We have already reached a phase where the availability of clean water can no longer be taken for granted. Climate change, together with demographic and socio-economic developments, such as population growth, mass migration, or urbanization and changes in consumption patterns, may further increase water scarcity, flood risks, and water pollution, unless firm actions, such as developing integrated management plans, are taken to improve water security in our rivers, lakes, groundwater, and coastal waters. Water has a fundamental role for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. That is why we have the first topic linked to the SDGs. The goals on water embraces different uses of water, water management, and water protection. Moreover, water is also strongly interlinked with others, if not all, of the SDGs, particularly those that are related to food and energy security. That is the reason behind we have chosen this for this highly represented panel today. So, dear audience, we have one question for, or actually for some, I have two questions for the panelists, and I will start with my own minister, Minister Tiilikainen, who is chairing the occasion today. And as we heard, our platform has now been active for 5 years, and many activities have been and are still running under this umbrella. And as we heard, in the coming years there will be even more resources available, which we all are very happy and pleased. So therefore I would like to ask you, what, in your opinion, are the most important issues that the platform should concentrate on when deepening the cooperation between China and Europe, and particularly when we are working towards achieving these goals for water and improving water security for all water users? Minister Tiilikainen.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I think that the effective implementation of Sustainable Development Goal number 6 is our priority. Lack of safe and sufficient water resource is already a threat to people and ecosystems in many areas of the world, including transboundary waters. Like Estonian minister mentioned, water is a cross-cutting issue in almost all SDG objectives, and therefore by taking care of waters we support implementation of very many other SDGs as well. I see that CEWP focus areas are very relevant and well in place for this purpose, implementing SDG number 6. I think we should focus on safe drinking water and healthy aquatic ecosystems and restoration of waters. And like His Excellency Chinese Minister Chen mentioned, it's time to go to the pragmatic cooperation. And the pragmatic cooperation in practice, it's done by companies. And Finnish companies, for instance, can offer water safety planning in a complete package of knowledge and applications recommended by World Health Organization. These include, for instance, the water safety plans and sanitation safety plans. So main principle is to build and support the capacity of the local expertise in water risk management, water protection and sanitation, and providing tools for doing it. And this can be the step forward. I'm looking forward, and I'm very happy that we have this business forum also here today to implement our good ideas and targets. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Indeed, I think several speakers mentioned the same issue, including the Estonian Minister, that it is a privilege that we have such a great representative delegation from companies here linked to our official meeting. It's indeed crucial for the practical cooperation, as also Minister Chen from the People's Republic of China mentioned. That is indeed the case. And the pragmatic approach, indeed. So, dear Minister Chen, one of the urgent water problems in China is water scarcity, and especially in the northern regions. Urbanization, increasing water demand and climate change will bring more pressure for both availability and demand of water. And we are very much aware of that China is implementing a huge program, which we all saw and hear also today, to transfer water from south to the north. But, Your Excellency, I would like to ask you, how do you see the role of improving water use efficiency in solving the water scarcity and thus achieving the goal number 6 mentioned by Minister Tiilikainen in China? And as a follow-up question, I would like to ask, how do you see China's possibilities in bringing its knowledge together with EU knowledge to improve water use efficiency also in other countries? Minister Chen.
感谢卡里奥女士提了这样一个非常好的问题。这个水资源短缺啊，是全球各国共同面对的一个突出问题。缺水呢，对中国的影响非常大，所以中国政府啊，高度重视节约用水和在提高水资源的利用效率和效益方面下功夫。中国政府呢，主要做法呢，就是第一呢，就是完善节水政策体系，这个实行最严格的水资源管理制度，把用水总量控制和单位生产总值用水量作为约束性指标，纳入地方经济社会发展综合评价体系，开展跨省江河流域水量分配，明确河湖水资源开发利用的上限，建立水资源承载能力的监测预警机制。同时呢，也强化用水定额和计划管理，这个严格重大规划和建设项目的水资源论证，严格控制产能过剩行业新增用水取水。第二呢，就是建设节水型社会。在农业方面呢，中国政府大力推行先进的高效节水灌溉面积。现在高效节水灌溉面积呢，已经占到中国农业灌溉面积的接近30%。 第二呢，就是在工业节水方面呢，这个重点用水行业和用水产品的节水指标已经都制定了，覆盖了30多个工业行业。另外呢，就是加快推进高耗水行业的节水技术改造，通过污水处理、再生水利用、海水淡化，提高工业水的循环利用率。第三呢，就是在生活和服务业方面，加强公共供水管网的更新改造，这个大幅度的降低管网的漏损率，这个普及应用生活节水器具，推进重点高耗水服务业的节水，这个建筑的节水、园林绿化的节水。第三呢，就是中国加快推进水价改革，这个特别是实行城镇居民的用水阶梯价格和非居民用水超定额累进加价制度，这个发挥价格在节水中的杠杆作用。另外呢，就是通过明细水权，这个建立节水激励机制，这个完善计量设施等措施，这个促进节水增效。特别是注重培育水权水市场，促进专业化的节水服务企业和节水服务的市场发展，推行合同节水管理。第四呢，就是强化科技支撑，开展水资源高效利用技术创新和研发，推进综合节水、非常规水源开发利用、水资源信息监测、地下水治理保护等关键技术的攻关，鼓励企业开展节水技术创新，支持节水产品和设备的研发制造。第五呢，就是注重培育节水文化，把水情教育纳入国民素质教育体系和中小学教育的课程体系，作为公务员教育培训的重要内容，开展节水护水的公益宣传和志愿服务活动，使节水成为全民的自觉行动。中国和欧盟在水管理、水处理、水节约、水保护等方面都积累了丰富的经验，也有很多适合其他国家的节水技术和设备。那么中欧呢，这个应该在全球水治理中更好地发挥引领作用。这个一要加强沟通交流，相互学习借鉴节水管水的理念、政策、经验、举措和技术。二要深化互惠合作，尤其要拓展科研院所水务企业之间的项目合作。第三呢，就是要协调共同行动，通过“一带一路”、南南合作等途径，帮助其他国家，特别是发展中国家提高用水效率，促进区域与全球的协调发展。谢谢。
Thank you, Minister. I think that during your presentation and also as a reply to the question, it is very clear to all of us about the huge amount of work carried out by the People's Republic of China in the area. And your very clear message to us all, including dear Commissioner, was the win-win situation between European Union and China, and the practical work we need to do based on the target as such. So that is why, dear Commissioner, the European Union has played an active role throughout the process, and it's is committed, of course, to implementing the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the goals within the EU and in development cooperation with partner countries. European Union has a clear aim to implement the 2030 Agenda internally and globally, of course, including the water-related goals. Therefore, my question to you is, which actions the Commission will take to make necessary developments in sectoral policies in order to have a positive impact on achieving the water-related goals? And a second question, dear Commissioner, what are the funding instruments the Commission has to accelerate the implementation of water-related goals, please?
Yes, thank you, Jaana. So let me start with the first question with regards to EC actions in order to achieve the water-related goals. First of all, I have to say that the European Union is taking a substantial amount of actions, both domestically as well as externally. I have to say that water objectives and water policies have always played a very important part, and they were always a priority in the European Union. In the European Union, we have a number of directives, we have a number of legislation, a number of initiatives, all related to water issues, all related to the production of water, to the management and use of water, to the quality and the quantity of water, to the access and distribution of water, and so on. And I have to say that throughout most of our member states, there is a high implementation rate of these directives and legislation. And it was by no mean chance that very positive results have been achieved. Just to give one example, in 2009, some 43% of surface water in the European Union were in good ecological status. Today, that figure has gone up by 10%. Our EU actions related to water are also linked to the SDGs. The European Union has played a very important part in and a very important role in establishing the goals, the SDGs, and we want to continue playing a key part also in their implementation. In Europe, we have adopted a consensus on the development of the SDGs in last June, and we are taking not just a European approach, but when it comes to water and other issues, we are also taking a global approach, because today most of the issues that we are facing are not European issues, they are not US issues, they are not Chinese issues, but they are global issues and they need global solutions and global actions. We are also at the moment assessing and evaluating the existing water policies and water strategies so that if and when we identify any gaps between our existing policies and the objective and goals of the SDGs, then we will rectify those gaps. But our policies, which go up to 2020, we can evaluate. But more important than that, we are already mainstreaming the SDG goals in our policies that go beyond 2020 as well. I have to say that many SDG targets are already within our EU policies, and action has long been taken on most of them. But I think one of the most important actions that we are taking is that we have established a monitoring framework to assess the results and the progress in each and every member states when it comes to SDG goals, including that of water. We are also taking into consideration the water reuse in our circular economy strategy. We spoke about the importance of the circular economy, that our resources are finite and we need to take care and use efficiently and effectively all our resources, especially water. And in the circular economy package, we are also looking at water reuse and making certain that water reuse does not contain any contaminants and so on. So we're looking at the quality of the water. We are working hand in hand with the agricultural platform, because agriculture in Europe is one of the main users of water, but unfortunately, if uncontrolled, it could also be one of the main polluters of our water. Then we have our 7th environmental action plan, which highlights the importance of water. There is also the follow-up of the Paris Climate Agreement, where the water policy is also very much linked. I said that our actions are also external actions, and with regards to our external actions, this is what we are doing today is a case in point. In the same way that we are working with China, we have worked with India, we have worked with a number of African countries as well. Obviously, that is what we are doing from Brussels, but each and every member state has got its own action program, and I know for certain that they are doing a lot. Most of our member states have got different challenges. Just to give two examples, Finland have got some 7.5, 7.6 of their territory made up of water, so the main challenge in Finland is how to manage that resource. The country where I come from, we have a great water scarcity, so the main challenge there is how to produce it from desalination and so on. With regards to the second question about the funding instruments to support the water-related SDG goals, we have a number of funding platforms. I would like to mention some of them, all of them again contributing to our international agenda. And when I talk about our international agenda, it's not just about funding, but more so it's also about technical exchange and technical assistance. We have, for example, the official development assistance, where the European Union is the prime donor when it comes to foreign assistance. We have an ambitious commitment, and we will be achieving the United Nations 0.7% target within the framework of the 2030 agenda. Then we also have what we are calling the EU External Investment Plan, which has leveraged some 44 billion euros by the year 2020, and this fund is there to encourage EU businesses and EU private sector to contribute outside the European Union with their expertise. Then we have the European Fund for Sustainable Development, which is a funding mechanism supporting investment by public financing authorities and the private sector. Then domestically we have also a number of funding platforms as well, like LIFE. We have the Common Agricultural Policy, which has got one of the biggest budget votes in the European Union. We have regional funds, we have research funds like the Horizon 2020. And again, each and every individual member state, then they have their own domestic funding platforms as well.
Thank you, Commissioner. So it was clear that funding instruments exist. I think one of the messages also from our meeting is that we have to pass the message that these instruments exist and they have to be used for the benefit of our work as well. And very important what you said in the beginning, indeed the follow-up, the monitoring and then the assessment. That is something that is crucial also in this work. Okay, thank you very much. And then, dear Presidency of the European Union, once more thank you for coming and knowing your very strict calendar. As we heard, you are just arriving from China yourself, and congratulations for the good work done by Estonia. I would like to ask you how Estonia itself will promote European policies for strengthening the implementation of the SDGs, and particularly those related to water. And as a follow-up question, what kind of approaches you could promote for the EU and China in joint implementation of the water SDG? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, SDGs are long-term, and the presidency, rotating presidency, lasts only for 6 months. So, therefore, we have made firm agreements with our trio presidency partners, Bulgaria and Austria, that we act here together and we continue to implement Agenda 2030 together. So there are continuous activities through all three presidencies. And we have agreed that our focus is on circular economy and especially eco-innovation to improve resource efficiency and reduce environmental impacts. And to highlight this, we're having this October a conference on nature-based solutions. This conference will have a special session on integrated water management through natural systems. And nature offers a solution for tackling environmental challenges such as climate change, water security, and others. And there is great potential for sustainable water management, especially for problems such as water treatment and disaster risk reduction. And in addition, urban areas are vulnerable to flooding and extreme rainfall events that can be mitigated with the right blue-green infrastructure. So this conference will introduce many new ideas for tackling these problems and achieving SDGs, including water-related SDGs. And during our presidency, we are preparing for the United Nations Environment Assembly, UNEA, which also aims to improve the implementation of SDGs. UNEA actually is the world's highest level decision-making body on the environment, and it will convene in Nairobi, Kenya this December. The agenda there includes resolutions also addressing both marine and water issues. Concerning your second question about what kind of approaches we would recommend for the EU and China, well, as there is a wide range of water-related issues, so first we would recommend a very practical approach. And as I mentioned earlier already, especially water management can be economically feasible, and I think it must be economically feasible. And this platform can encourage more companies to launch projects that will offer both environmental and economic benefits. Also, we need to encourage other European Union member states to join this platform and be more active in order to make our cooperation more extensive. Because, as Commissioner Vella mentioned, European countries have very different experience and very good experience, but from different angles and with different problems. And therefore we have very different competencies. For example, my country, Estonia, we are proud of being leading ICT innovators, and we can show actually very good results with information technology and having environmental IT systems. For example, we have a network of online monitoring for groundwater quality and groundwater levels. So we have transponders in the wells, and we have online monitoring system for that. Also, we have developed a water information system that takes together information from all different databases concerning water quality, and it is kind of the Wikipedia for Estonian water, but it's much more functional. And you can see from there the quality of all the lakes and rivers of Estonia from the same database. And also, as we have chosen to include SDGs in the work of the China and EU Water Platform, we think that we should expand international cooperation and capacity building to support developing countries as well in water-related activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Indeed, Yes, the ball is running. The continuity is ensured. Thank you for the Estonian presidency to doing your part. It's clear. And from the Finnish side, we are completely aware of the skills of our neighbor on the IT world. And I'm sure that, as you correctly said, and also the commissioner, each European country has its own perfect and better tools to compare and to share. And I was very pleased to hear that you invited all the member states to take an even more active role also in this platform. Otherwise, we cannot do our part for what Mr. and Minister Chen was asking from the Chinese point of view. But thank you very much for Estonia. And then Minister Skog from Sweden. We all know that Sweden has had a big role during the preparations and now in the implementation of these goals. And as an example, I would like to mention the successful Ocean Conference Sweden organized together with Fiji earlier this year. And Sweden has also emphasized the integrated approach for successful implementation. And therefore, I would like to ask you what actions our platform should take in order to develop policy recommendations that can accommodate the need for different uses of water without compromising with sustainability and between fresh, coastal, marine and groundwater. And it's indeed a privilege also to have you here, Minister.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm so glad that I have the possibility here today at the high-level meeting with Minister Tiilikainen, Minister Chen, Commissioner Vella, and ministers and colleagues from the EU and China, that we together see the need to work on sustainable water management. The cooperation on water issues with China is a high priority for Sweden, and the China-Europe Water Platform is indeed a valuable platform for such cooperation. On the issue on policy recommendation that can accommodate the need for different uses of water without compromising this with sustainability, let me focus on three overarching areas that the Swedish government see as important. My first point where the CEWP could develop its work is the interdependency between the Sustainable Development Goal 6 on water and sanitation and Goal 14 on the oceans. This was one of the priority areas raised by Sweden at the UN Oceans Conference in this June, initiated and presided by Fiji and Sweden. I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for contributing to the great success that we believe that the conference became. One of the main outcomes from the Ocean Conference was that it generated nearly 1,400 voluntary commitments. Approximately 400 of these commitments are addressing land-based pollution and will be of great importance also for the implementation of Goal 6. To secure good water quality and healthy oceans, we often need to go upstream and work with an integrated management approach. We call it management from source to sea. Most of the main pressures on the marine and fresh water is pollution and marine litter already that comes from land-based activities. I think that the CEWP should focus on policy recommendations regarding efficient, integrated governance structures that efficiently address the management from source to sea. This would be a valuable contribution to the implementation of Goal 6 and Goal 14 in the Agenda 2030. With a number of hurricanes and floods in fresh memory and its devastating effects on people around the world, I find it self-evident that we need to actively include the adaptation to climate change in water management. Sweden has, within the platform, actively, together with the named Hydrological Institute and other Chinese institutions, developed policy recommendation on the water, food, energy nexus. My second point is that CEWP, in developing policy recommendations regarding integrated management models, for example, the nexus, need also to include effects of adaptation to climate change. My third and last point is that the CEWP should focus on how we can develop and exchange technology for common challenges. One concrete example is the emergent challenge of pharmaceuticals and antibiotics in water resources, affecting both humans and the environment. A couple of weeks ago, I was inaugurating a new wastewater treatment with brand new technology using ozone to remove more than 90% of the pharmaceuticals in wastewater. CEWP, not at least through its business pillar, should be a platform for efficient exchange of new environmentally friendly technology that really makes a difference in water quality and water use management in both China and Europe. It is crucial that we use the China-Europe water platform to make change, real change, in our environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Indeed, a real change, and thank you for combining in a very elegant and nice way also other issues like the use of antibiotics and the question of the residues. And I'm really looking forward also from the business point of view, as you were referring to the newest technology, how that will help us with that question. And from the source to the sea, it is a very nice slogan. I think all of us, we will remember that when we go and do our daily work, because indeed that is the basic what happens on the land, how it will affect our water. Thank you very much, Minister. And then, dear colleague from Denmark, dear Henrik, one of the United Nations indicators for achieving the goal number 6 is the increase of the global volume of treated wastewater from 20 to 60% by 2030. And the importance of considering wastewater, a valuable resource, is closely linked to the need of ensuring higher sanitation, water security and efficient energy use. And when we go back to the 70s, I know the same in my country, in Finland, as in Denmark, we experienced several challenges regarding the pollution from wastewater discharge in our waters. And then Danish water utilities have developed wastewater treatment plants that clean wastewater to a very, very high quality. So I would like to ask you how the significant investment in wastewater treatment in the near future can best promote advanced wastewater treatment and recycling of nutrients, and how can our platform, collaborative platform, promote this approach? So, dear Henrik.
Thank you very much for the question, Jaana. And first, let me repeat what I'm sure we all know, that water is the most important shared resource across all supply chains. And even though it is, yet wastewater is a large untapped resource. Luckily, we now have a shared goal to push our treated wastewater from 20 to 60% in 2030. This, of course, requires massive infrastructure investments, and these have to be designed with the future firmly in mind. And therefore also my sincere compliments to the timely UN report from 2017, Wastewater, the Untapped Resource. This report clearly shows that improved wastewater treatment and management can generate not only environmental benefits, but also social and economic benefits for the society. The conclusion is that wastewater today is more than a simple burden for disposal. In fact, wastewater can be an asset, and let me give you an example from Denmark, where our leading wastewater treatment plants now have become net energy producers. They turn sludge into biogas and electricity. So now we see on wastewater as resource water, valuable organic content can be converted into energy, phosphorus can be recycled, and heat can be recovered. And finally, we have the possibility to use the leftover sewage sludge as fertilizer on farmland, even though, of course, we have to be aware that there can be hazardous substances in this sludge. We have succeeded with this development because of economic incentives and wastewater regulations, which have encouraged utilities and plants in Denmark to develop efficient solutions together with consulting companies, technology providers, and researchers. And I think this is a very, very central point, that partnership and collaboration between the different parts of society are the key to how we can tackle the challenges that we have had and that we can see in front of us. And that's also the reason that the different parties in the Danish Water Society have formulated a common water vision 2025. Governments can't simply lift this task alone. Of course, we must provide the right policies and incentives which will increase investments and innovation. And here I think it's very essential to mention one of the tools in the center of our toolbox, the price on the service that water utilities deliver to the citizens. Water needs to have a price. Pricing signals scarcity. It signals that you have to be very cautious about how you use this finite resource. And of course, pricing fosters innovation, innovative thinking, and more circularity in the water sector. For me, today's conference is a new milestone in the China-Europe Water Platform collaboration. We are well past the first walk, the first talk, the first school day, and we are now ready to go forward. And I'm very confident that we can continue the upward learning curve we have seen during the last 5 years and jointly address the challenges which we can see in the transition towards a green and circular economy. Denmark has, since the establishment of the CEWP platform in 2012, hosted and financed the European Secretariat on behalf of the EU and the Member States. This has been a great honor. It has been a tremendous pleasure to work with you all. And here I think I would like very much to give a warm and special thank to our Chinese counterpart and our Finnish colleagues, which now will take over the Secretariat from the EU side by the end of this year. I wish you a very fair wind. I'm sure you will succeed very well. We will of course, stay top motivated and engaged in the work in the platform. And we look very much forward to gather Chinese and European stakeholders in the CEWP horizontal program and vertical lots, putting our minds together to find new solutions and visionary ideas. Today I would also like very much to thank all the conference participants. You're the backbone of the successful CEWP collaboration. Your engagement enables us to focus on the right priorities and to exploit and seize the unexpected opportunities. So what's important is to share our ideas with each other, and I think that's the best way to create more ideas and to do our efforts to change the course of the world. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Henrik, and thank you, Denmark, for teaching the child to walk, as you said. And I think that now it is our time to teach the child to grow up and run faster. That is, dear colleague from Portugal, also for you, our common challenge. Indeed, as you mentioned, the wastewater treatment is the key issue of the circular economy and on our agenda today, how we manage to do it not only on paper that we talk about from waste to a raw material, but how we can do that using the most effective technical work, understanding the socio-economical impact you were referring to. And that is how I continue with the circular economy, because I know that Portugal, you indeed you have been one of the leading countries in Europe to promote circular economy as such. And that is my question, is that what kind of role do you see from the Portuguese point of view, circular economy having in the implementation of the SDG water goals? And since water is so strictly and strongly linked to many other goals, as we have heard, how circular economy policies should be connected to other SDGs, not compromising the specific goals for water. So, Carlos, please.
Good morning. It is for me a great pleasure to be here today participating in this event that confirms that our CEWP water platform is becoming more mature and more robust. It is to speak about CGD 6, but is also to speak about the Agenda 2030. Once water is interlinked with the vast majority of the goals in Europe. I do believe that we will only be able to face with the strong partnerships between countries and regions, partnerships between private and public sectors and different stakeholders. In this sense, I would like to share with you two projects that we were developing in Portugal. The first is the establishment of the UNES International Specialist Center of Excellence of Public-Private Partnership in Water and Sanitation. This center will, among other things, identify international best practices worldwide, provide assistance on a best efforts basis to low and middle income countries that are considering people first PPPs as a feasible solution for water supply and sanitation service, and became a depository of information and best practice models that can be useful to people first PPPs in the water and sanitation sector worldwide. The second project is the recently launched Lisbon International Center for Water. Liswater is a no-profit center of excellence focused on the public policy, regulations and management on water service and water resources. Over the last 20 years, Portugal has achieved outstanding and remarkable progress in the Portuguese water and sanitation sector, which is largely recognized worldwide. Portugal enjoys almost near universal water coverage of the population and coverage of sanitation service. The quality of drinks water, 99%, is fully monitored and compliance with European standards. This recent story with very good results, we have in-house significant expertise and valuable capacity in water planning, water service and regulation that we believe can be valid in the spirit of international cooperation. This is we made water nutrients regeneration as one on the actions in our circular economy plan, striving for water efficiency levels, establishment parameters for water reuse, and encouraging the evolution for water treatment facilities into biorefineries, resulting the contribution for several of the CDGs. Water face stress and scarcity as any other finite resource of the earth, and the value is that more important. Water is life. Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, water is life. There's no life without water. That is indeed the case. And I'm grateful for you to be here and also to show the continuity of our work. And the public-private partnership you were referring to is really the crucial part of our success story for the future. And I think Portugal has made good examples for that, as we heard. So, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I was already asking, of course, the Commissioner about the financial instruments, but now I have the privilege to continue the work when we have, for the first time, a representative from the World Bank in here. So, Mr. Chen, you are very warmly welcome. And you are, of course, the major funding organization for sustainable development all over the developing world, and your funding supports the development and delivery of knowledge and financing programs to country clients, overseeing a total portfolio, if I have understood right, of roughly $27 billion US dollars. So my question to you is, what are the strategic plans of the World Bank to promote water SDGs in projects funded by you? And a second question, how do you see possibilities to promote cooperation of our platform and your activities also in China in the coming years? Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting the World Bank to join this discussion, and it's an honor to join this distinguished panel for this opening session. Yes, you're right. The World Bank is a global financial institution. Water is a big agenda for us. We all discuss about the importance of water and its connection to many part of the SDG goals. In a way that we see, I think perhaps maybe many of us are water professionals. If you picture the world of SDG as a galaxy, I see water right in the center of it, connecting with urban development, energies, food productions, many other things. So that's how we see the SDG connection to water. And of course, connection to health and jobs and many other SDG goals. Talking about financing, actually, World Bank is actually the largest financial institution, international financial institution in supporting the water sector. We actually have currently a portfolio of about $37 billion, actually, of which my department, the water practice, manage about 27 billion of it. The rest is managed by our urban development, environment, and others. And of course, we finance this project in developing countries, our member countries. I think one way to look at the SDG goal on the financing side is that the SDG aspiration comes with a very significant financing need. In 2016, we did estimate just for SDG goal 6.1 and 6.2, talking about improve water supply and sanitation, or universal access to improve water supply and sanitation. It requires, in our estimate, something like $115 billion a year worldwide. So for 15 years, that's roughly about $1.7 trillion. And that's compared with the current investment in the sector, which is about 3 to 4 times what we historically investing in this particular sector worldwide. And of course, much of the gap is in poor developing countries, obviously not in EU member countries, but mostly in Africa, in South Asia. Minister Chen mentioned about over 1 billion people have no improved access to safe drinking water, and half of the world population has no safe access to sanitation facility as we speak. So this financing need is huge. And we also, and this is part of our work, is that to see how we can meet this financing gap. Obviously, funding from public organization, from government budget, from financial institution itself is not adequate, which is why, in fact, recently, we in the World Bank, we're launching this what we call financing, maximizing financing for development initiative. We launched a report a couple of weeks ago in Stockholm, Water Week, called Easing Transition to Commercial Finance for Sustainable Water and Sanitation. Basically talking about the fact that if we're going to achieve this SDG goal in water, we really have to use our existing resources and crowd in commercial finance into the sector. And to do that, this is linked to the second aspect of the work that we're doing, is that we have to work with our water agencies. We're talking about urban utility, water company, to improve their performance, to make them creditworthy so that they can access commercial finance, because otherwise there's simply not enough finance available. Linking with that is, of course, financing is only one aspect of this SDG challenge. Investing in water infrastructure to address the supply side of the challenge itself, sometimes we actually create more problems on the other side unless you address the demand side, which is why I think water policy, sustainable water policy, as what Mr. Chen mentioned, that's been implemented in China to improve efficiency, effectiveness, and promotion of safe use or safe water are the various instruments that we need to work on, because ultimately there's simply not enough clean water available to everyone moving forward. On your second question related to how we can work with CEWP and China, World Bank is a global organization. We work with many of the EU member countries. In fact, in Europe, we're already doing so. In addition to providing financing, so some of the mostly former Eastern Europe countries, and some of them are new member of the EU, and some of them are aspiring to become a member of the EU. We actually had a platform supported by Austrian government called the Danube Water Conference, which linked with 14 countries along the Danube River basin to basically hold a bit like the platform that we're talking about here, the annual event to bring in information sharing, knowledge exchange, bring good practices, and sharing knowledge. And in China, obviously nowadays we are not the main financier of investment in China, but we still have a portfolio of over a dozen projects in the water sector, partly because I think we use those platforms also to share knowledge, to also share the Chinese knowledge with our other client countries in other parts of the world. So I think those are kind of platforms we will continue to support and promote. European Union member countries always have many experience in effective water resources management, and China is also at the forefront of policy reforms and investments over the last 2 decades, and we really want to use the World Bank as a global institution to promote this kind of a knowledge sharing and exchange of information so that we can all benefit from the good practices and live work in the process of development. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. I think that the basic message is, of course, that access to clean water is the basic human right for everyone around the world. And based on what you have said and what we heard already by Minister Chen, that is not the case globally. And also the proper sanitation is clearly included to that. And the figures mentioned by you are worrying. There's still too much to do. And the figures, the money you mentioned, the need for the money, it's out of my understanding. I'm not an economist, and those, how many zeros you have to have, it's too much. But that's why we need World Bank to help us. But as you correctly said, it is not only about money. The first thing is in the attitude, in the will. And I think that is the basic for our conference and for the talk of today, and the basic of the China-Europe water platform. If we do not want, nothing happens. And I'm very convinced, and I'm sure that everyone in the audience, either here in the room or via the web, is of the same opinion, that there is an urgent need to cooperate. And that is indeed what we are going to do, together with China from Europe. And we are now having a small coffee break until 11 o'clock. We continue with another panel towards the signing of the memorandum that we were referring to already. I'm very grateful for all your excellencies for taking your time. I think that there are still more questions than solutions, but we work towards to have them solved. Thank you very much. My humble thanks to all of you.